my story is a common story of Cambodians community, especially for the 1.5 generation, what we call ourselves, folks who came to United States around 1980s, early 70s. So sometime like during the 70s, late 70s, 80, U.S. did a lot of campaign in Southeast Asia, meaning that a lot of our country was bombed during this operation, and Cambodia, in particular, has suffered so much bombing that it had created instability in our country, which allowed the Pol Pot, which is the Khmer Rouge, the leader of the Khmer Rouge, rise to power, and they started committing mass genocide. And the idea that they were operating under was that they wanted to change the culture and the landscape and our history and some of our just the narrative of our country, right? And they started targeting people with education, people like teachers, doctors, lawyers, anyone who has some kind of education became a target. And my mom was married to a teacher, and she had 2 kids, my older brother and a baby. Because she was married to a teacher, they became a target. So they arrested our entire family, took her husband in, and they executed him because of his background. They put my mom into a camp where she was worked from sunup to sundown. And at the time, because of her condition, because of her confinement and being forced to do manual labor without having any food, right? They barely gave her enough food to survive. She wasn't able to produce milk, and so she was unable to feed the baby. And so my older brother died. I don't remember how old he was, but he was really, really. He's an infant. And then my older brother, who was a little older, I think he was like 4, 5 maybe, and he started really fending for himself, right? Porching, throughout the jungle and was able to find enough for him to survive. And during this time, they obviously they killed over 1 million people during this whole campaign with Khmer Rouge. And my mom pretty much was forced, as she was in the camp, to work for the Khmer Rouge, and was also forced to watch her entire family get butchered. So they would torture my uncle, they would kill my grandma, grandpa, and all of her siblings was murdered in front of her. And I think it was a way of just breaking her down psychologically. They actually made her work. I think my mom at some point wanted to give up her life, but they made her work for them so that her younger sister would live, right? And her younger sister was also captured and also forced to work in the military because she has military experience. So they recruited her as a second lieutenant. And during her first operation, she was hit by RPG. And till today, she survived, but she limped till today. So she can barely move on one leg, and she says will limp her whole life after that. So I think sometime during their captivities, the Khmer Rouge started having conflict with each other. I think they were fighting for power. They were fighting for resources, and while at the same time, the Vietnamese soldier invaded Cambodia, and all throughout the whole chaos, right? This was happening. My mom was able to escape, and she ran to her old village, and when she made it there, the villager captured her, right? And they were really angry about what had happened with the Khmer Rouge. And so they tried to kill her. And they actually killed the people who escaped with her. They came up from this place saying that she should have not worked for the Khmer Rouge. She should have just died. And so because she worked for the Khmer Rouge, they wanted to kill her. At the time, there was a villager elder who was present. She was well respected. And she begged for my mom's life. And she said to the villager, if you kill her, you also kill her son, and her son has nothing to do with this, and you should not condemn her son to die, right? And so they spared her life. And she escaped with my brother, and somehow through her journey made it to Thailand. And at this point, when she was in Thailand, she met my dad. And at first, she didn't really marry him out of love. She was a young woman with a kid, in a foreign country, and just didn't have any resources and vulnerable. So she married him out of protection. later they fell in love and built a relationship, and I was born. So I was born and raised in a refugee camp until I was 5 years old. So I witnessed the whole, like, I still remember it. There's some stuff I don't remember because I was so young, but there are certain things that I just remember feeling, like the feeling of being scared, the feeling of like just pressure, right? Pressure into like extreme fear. And I think partly because my mom would always like shake us up, and then I remember seeing flames, like people carrying torches and stuff running around and lamps and stuff like that, and that soldier or bandit was coming in, and like there was a lot of abuse, there was rape, there was all kind of crime happening in a refugee camp. And so I remember like these feelings around it. So I don't remember the whole story, but I think part of my memory is I was too young to really to remember those stuff. But I still remember how I felt in those areas. And so when 5 years old, I think my mom someone petitioned us to come to the country. And so I don't know if it was through a lottery, but I do know that there was I call him uncle. My mom told me to call him uncle. He's not our blood relative, but I think he has been a friend to the family, a very close friend, and they kind of like adopted each other as siblings. And so he petitioned my mom to come, and at least that's what I think happened, because we came here under refugee status, and they would give us a green card. So we were a green card holder, and so we came here legally through a plane, and actually they flew us to Seattle, I think. I think we stopped in like China and Philippines before we ended up in the United States. And afterward, we landed in Santa Ana, and this individual I was just mentioning, my mom's uncle, her uncle, not a brother relative, but yeah, he would walk up us in, and I remember him showering me. His wife actually took me as soon as I left. So we came in the house. He like, "You come with me," and then he showered me. It was like really, really weird experience. Like for one, I was on a plane, and then I was somehow end up in the seat where there's a window, and so I looked out the window, and the plane took off, right? So I was like, "Oh, dang, this thing is flying!" Like, so I was amazed, like this kid, right, who just grew up in this very bad environment, very bad condition, always in fear, and then I'm like, I'm in the air, right? Because I remember, people saying you're lucky you're going to the United States, and I didn't know what that meant, but I just felt like that was something special. And I'm on the plane, and then they gave me a burger. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know it was food, but I just watched the other people around me. They started eating, and then so I did what they did, and I was like, oh my God, that was the most tasty, beautiful thing I ever tasted. So my first introduction to the United States was a hamburger on a plane. And so I still remember the taste of it. I was really excited. I just ate the whole thing really fast. And then, kind of fast forward, I end up in this stranger's house who's supposed to be my mom's uncle. And this woman was showering me, right? And she put me in the shower, and it's like, she turned the shower on. At first, I thought, like, because I was thirsty. I've been, having to drink water for a long time. And Cambodia would have these like little bowl of water to come, that you have to like really go out there and get it, and you have to boil it and then put it in this little bowl. So when I first saw the toilet, I thought that was the bowl. And I tried to drink out of the toilet, and this lady just stopped me. She's like, "You don't drink out the toilet." This is not for drinking, right? And so I thought, I was really confused. Like, why can't I drink out of it? It's like, it's water right there. And so she said, "No, that's not the water you drink." And I don't think she ever really explained it to me. I guess, she just wanted to shower me. So then she put me in the shower, and she turned on the shower. And then there's another like very eye-opening thing, just witnessing water come out of nowhere, right, from this little metal thing. So I had like very memorable moments coming to the United States.